Hey, it's John. All things paranormal. Hey, we're going to go over to discuss some of the stuff about our show tonight over about the El Pisano Hotel. A little history of what's going on we're over at Marfa, Texas. It was established city back in 1881. It started off as a watering hole for the train that went through from West Texas all the way over through Louisiana. So, anyway, the El Pisano Hotel, an interesting story too about some of the stuff over there. They had the lights, Marfa lights too. We investigated that, but we did not find anything that night, the next night that we was there. So we're not going to really be posting any evidence or anything on that. But we do have some good stuff about the El Pisano Hotel. The El Pisano Hotel was built back in 1929 by, let's see here, the designer of it, the architect of it was a Henry Trost, T-R-O-S-T. And actually, it was he come from overseas. It's a big architectural company. And so they designed, in this group, was the total of like 5 hotels. And it was from by Charles Bassett. Now, Charles Bassett owned this hotel all the way up till it looked like around 1947, and he ended up selling it to M. Mallon, and the family did. But some of the history of it, back in 1929, the hotel started being built just a few days before the fall of the stock market, before it crashed. So, and they continued to build it. I guess they had enough money to keep on going. And it finished up by 1930. Well, in 1930, it was the county seat of the Presidio County, and they did a lot of cattle trading. So this hotel was used by the cattle barons, the people that has, the people that owned all the cattle. Not very many cowboys stayed there, but a lot of rich cattle bearing people. So they had, and whenever the people went to go sell cattle, they had a lot of money going on. So there's a lot of interesting things happening. I hate to say what was going on, but you'd probably have some women, some little gambling, little stuff like that, all off the books. And one of the things that you can find is that there's not much history, especially negative history of that particular era, of that particular motel and that city. So when it say somebody died in there, they kept it hush hush, especially when you start dealing with a lot of rich people. So also in Marfa too, back in some other history of Marfa, it also had the Army Air Base. As they did some training. They also had some POWs from World War II over there, a prisoner of war camp, and some, I don't want to say biological, but it was more of a chemical brigade. Because, they did do some chemical weapons and stuff like that from the old World War I stuff. But anyway, this motel, so there's a lot of interesting things going on around in that particular motel. So what's haunting that motel? Well, we're not 100% sure, because there's not, like I said, due to the fact that there's a lot of money flowing around through that area, a lot of stuff is hush-hush. The only thing that people have said is that, one, you got to hit James Dean was haunting it, because he was there. But James Dean haunts everything in America. If you go around and look and see, James Dean's just about been everywhere, and he's haunting just about everything. And they also say it might have been one of the owners. There's been a total of about 3 or 4 owners since then, but there's been a lot of hauntings since. It really seemed to start off back in the 80s. So anyway, what is it? Who is it? We're not sure, but we'd sure like to know. Anyway, this is... Oh, and Liz Taylor was there. Anyway, we're going to be passing on some information. This is John, All Things Paranormal.
Hey, this is Don, All Things Paranormal. I'm here with Charlie, one of our investigators. Hey, Charlie, what do you want to get out of all this?
Well, truthfully, I'm hoping to find some evidence of a ghost or something sticking around this hotel to bring back home to show to other people watching. So, give more evidence that there's things out there that we not quite understand.
So, have you seen anything yet? Strange?
I was walking down the hall and have an EMF detector, so does electromagnetic fields and stuff. Walking down the hall and it would be going off. And I stop and backtrack a little bit and try to make it go off again, and it with no success on that. So it's just going off every once in a while I can't find no reason for it to be going off.
And you didn't have video evidence of it?
No, I didn't.
You wasn't ready for it, huh?
I wasn't ready.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, what about your? You got any kind of EMF or voice recorder?
Yeah, I got I had this going in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I just changed the battery. I just got it out of the box and put it in there.
Yeah, as protocol for us, we change batteries out on everything before we start investigation with new batteries.
Well, I turned it on to record it, and I put it in my pocket, walked around, and I got 42 seconds worth of battery out of this thing,
And then
before it just stopped working.
And that's at the same time that it got up there and all that was going on.
Yep, I was
Yeah.
walking down the hall and it started going off, and this thing died on me, and well, needless to say, I should have ripped out my phone and started,
Yeah.
recording, but
Okay. Well, this is Don.
just Charlie.
All things paranormal.
All right, here we go. We're going to talk about the upcoming videos that we got, or just shown. It's going to be one of them of Charlie. They kind of pardon the sound because it's not very loud. We didn't really. That was just kind of like a spur of the moment type recording. So one of the anomalies that we had while they was recording it, if you look off. I don't know if you noticed it, but off on the left-hand side over there where that kind of like a mirror-looking section, there was something moving around. Now, there wasn't nothing but Don was filming Charlie doing his interview. Now, we don't know what that was. It could have been somebody off in the background or something, or it could be a ghost.
Yeah.
Car driving by. Something wasn't quite right there. But we're not saying that was paranormal. But we're saying it was odd. Something was different than out of the normal. Now, what he was doing, he was using an EMF meter. That stands for electromagnetic
field.
Yeah, electromagnetic field meter, EMF. And what that does is it measures it depends on the particular meter. That one right there measures the electrical fields and stuff like that off of electricity, like boxes and radios and stuff. And they got another one that measures gauze that uses for like the magnetic polarity and stuff like that of the actual Earth.
Yeah. So what happened on the video part? He was just walking around beforehand, just take it, and then he comes back out there and he says, "Hey, Uncle Don, man, this thing it's sucking my batteries down on my voice recorder. I keep replacing the batteries, but I think we got cheap batteries." I said, "No, we don't have cheap batteries. I think it's something's drawing the batteries."
Yeah, after the first set of batteries, he's like, "Man, these batteries suck." And then like, "No, son, the batteries ain't bad."
Yeah, we ain't gonna use the name because we don't want, because we're not getting paid for it. But it bring them down. So then the next thing was he got up there and said, "Hey, the EMF meter keeps taking it, and I'm walking around and it keeps spiking." And I said, "Hey, well, hold on a second." So I said, "Let me get a video of you." So I just whipped out the old iPhone, and just started recording him telling about that. So that's when we spotted the other thing. So you're going to have to kind of get up there and kind of bear with us about the sound that's real quiet. So then the next thing is, he says, well, Uncle Don, and I said, yes, boy. He says, well, how about I show you where it's all acting up? And I said, excellent. So
That's what we're here for.
that's what we're here for. So I get up there and I go up there with him, and we're walking around the hall, and he keeps taking it, looking at this EMF meter. You can even see it jump up to like 5 point something, 5.0, 5.7 or something like that. And then he'll take it and it'll go away, and he'll walk another few steps, and there it is. Almost like he's chasing something.
It's not like it's, like if you run across like a high electrical current or something from a wall or something, you can kind of pinpoint it around. But it wasn't at that one spot. It was just kept moving over and over.
Yeah, he'd take it and he'd come back, and it'd get up there and not be there. It'd go forward, and all of a sudden he'd get it, and then it'd go away, and then he'd take it and go back, and then and it's there, and then it's not. I mean, it's just really strange.
Man, this place is out. This place right here. If you get a chance to go, the El Pisano Hotel, we do recommend going.
Yeah, going. And we was, I think, in room, 220?
207.
207. Okay, so our next thing that we're going to talk about the...
Well, it might have been 220, but I think it was 207.
Maybe 207, 220, something like that. But the next video that we're going to show you, it's going to be of the orbs. I hate to use that word. I'm not an orb person.
Yeah, we don't really go too much on orbs, because most of the time you get stuff like dust and bugs and stuff like that. But we're going to have to say on this particular instance that, we really did not see a whole bunch. Actually, we really didn't see any dust.
No dust. And it was cold, and there wasn't any bugs.
And there's just no bugs and stuff. But, man, we got stuff moving around. And that's not saying that we couldn't see it. That it's not there, it's not a bug or something that we're not seeing, but we're just not really picking too much stuff up from it.
Yeah, and as far as the dust, well, if you take it and you shine a flashlight, you can see dust moving around.
Especially if you catch it at an angle.
Yeah, at an angle. And we didn't see any dust. So now, is it an orb? Man, I'm not a thing, but I'm going to tell you what, if you watch that video, it seems like it starts off kind of small, and then all of a sudden, it's just like a bunches of them just flying here,
the
flying
closer
there.
we get to the events that we have going on, the seems like the more and more of it that is running around.
Yeah, and it's not falling like dust falling. I mean, it's going like, and then, and it's just going all over the place. And it's no rhyme or reason or.
And I'm going to tell you something. We're pretty chunky. So that we didn't have, and I know it's cool out there, so we didn't have the heater on. So we didn't really have a bunch of air. There wasn't a whole bunch of air flowing around either.
Yeah, and that's another thing, too. We make sure that we try to eliminate some of the possibilities. We turn off all sound devices like TVs, radios, stuff like that. And we also take it and turn off our air conditioning and anything blowing of fans. That way it doesn't get up there and show that. So,
needless to say, when it comes to the EVP sessions, now they did have a wedding party going on downstairs.
Yes.
So we wasn't really getting a good clear volume with that, and then and plus we're losing batteries and stuff, so we don't really have any EVPs for you.
Yeah, and I know we haven't talked about it either, but this was kind of like a bonus type hunt. We wasn't really planning on doing anything. We planned on going up there. Hey, we're going to stay in a haunted hotel, and tonight, and then tomorrow we're going to do the Marfa Lights. Well,
which we've had at the Marfa Lights had good results in the past.
Yes, but the whole thing is that we did not plan on really doing like an extensive hunt on this thing. We just said, hey, let's just break out our new equipment. Let's just set it up. Let's just do our little run-through thing, do our little, a little mock, so to speak, type hunt, and make sure everything works.
Put some stuff out there for y'all.
Put some stuff out there, maybe people could see it and stuff. And then all of a sudden, man, everything breaks loose.
And behold, y'all get ready for this stuff that's coming up.
Yeah, we're going to have some more clips here in a little bit.
Was that you making my EMF go off in the hall? Or was that somebody else? If there's anybody here, please make your presence known. Is this really just staying at right now? Or is there multiple places where you stay? If you want us to leave, please give us a sign. Was that you that just moved that table? If you want me to leave, move the table again. I guess since you can't do it second time, you're not man enough to do it. I guess since you ain't gonna give me another sign, I guess I'll quit talking. Hey, this is Charlie with All Things Paranormal. I'm making a quick little short video talking about the, I'm sure y'all have seen the video, the of the table moving over at the hotel. Well, let's talk before that. I was walking around the hotel, and at times I would have EMF readers spiked up, and also the voice recorder I had in my pocket would also go dead. The batteries would be drained, even though I just replaced them. So there was a lot of things unexplained that night that was happening well before I did that EVP session. So that happened probably a couple hours before that. It was that stuff was happening. Well, we decided to do a EVP session in that room. Got it all set up, and it was doing it, and the table moved. Well, the first thought that was going through my head was, the table just moved when I asked it to do something. If it wanted me to leave, wanted me to stop asking it questions and stuff. So it was trying to tell me something that I don't want to be questioned no more. I think what it was doing. It didn't want to have a conversation with us about it. Before the table moved, though, it was like something was also hitting it. So it seemed like to me it was trying to build up that momentum of it moving. It didn't just get up there and move all of a sudden. I heard some noises from the table being hit or trying to make it move or something like that. It wasn't really scary. It just kind of caught me by surprise when it happened. I didn't jump up. I didn't, run in there screaming and stuff. And, it really no cause for that. If it wanted to hurt me or whatever, it would throw the table at me. It wouldn't just push it away to the side away from me. When it happened, I could hear my dad and uncle and my other uncle in there talking about it, and saw the table move too. So it wasn't just me imagining it. I heard in there them started, whispering to themselves, "Hey, did y'all see that table move?" and all that. So it wasn't just, just me imagining things. And I didn't just end it there. I kept it going. Maybe we could do it again, but it didn't end up doing it again. So ended up ending the session, going in there, reviewing the video, and watched it a few times, and we couldn't explain what happened. Throughout that night, we had a flashlight that was, if it was moved or touched, it would turn on. And that also turned on 4 times, I think. But didn't really have anything else like that happen throughout the night. But yeah, that was my experience with it. It didn't really scare me. It just kind of caught me off guard. It was kind of surprising. But yeah, thank y'all for watching. This is Charlie with All Things Paranormal.
Hey, this is Don, All Things Paranormal. So, I'm going to give you my point of what could have happened. Or not what could have happened. The table moved. I seen it on video. You had Charlie in the other room sitting with the table. You had John and Charles at the computer, monitoring the video. I was over right next to John and Charles in a bedroom, just immediately over to their right. I was sitting down uploading video, And then I heard, hey, come look at this. So I go in there and take a look. And they showed me. And I said, oh, man, really? And then Charlie kept, he just kind of looked around like, hey, I don't know what happened. And then he turned around, and after the session was over, he come out of the room and he says, did y'all see that table move? And yeah, he was excited. I don't understand how he kept his composure the whole time. Either he was analyzing the situation and wasn't sure that it really happened, or it happened and he was shocked. But I know I've reviewed the evidence several times, and I didn't see his legs move at all. As you can see on the videos that we're going to show you several times, or that you've seen several times, I didn't see any way for it to move like that. Now, there was an air mattress thing over to the left, but if you look at the legs, whenever it moved, both legs moved like back, like it's the top is being pulled, with the legs are shifting. If it had been like, the table rolling over, it wouldn't have had that kind of force. I mean, it was the legs only moved minute amount compared to the amount that moved on the table, and it moved a pretty good bit of force because the items on the table slid even further, so it was pushed or pulled pretty fast. I mean, I know they flipped it over. I looked on the other side. I was even in another room, looked to see if there's maybe anything in the other room, and there wasn't. So, man, it was, once you eliminate the possibilities, what's left is unknown. But that's all I could say about that. I mean, it was pretty cool. Expected going in, all you expect is maybe a little EVP or something, and you get actual contact like that. So, but this is Don, All Things Paranormal.
Was that you making my EMF go off in the hall? Or was that somebody else? If there's anybody here, please make your presence known. Is this where you're staying at right now? Or is there multiple places where you stay? If you want us to leave, Please give us a sign. Was that you that just moved that table? If you want me to leave, move the table again. I guess since you can't do it second time, you're not man enough to do it. I guess since you ain't gonna give me another sign, I guess I'll quit talking.
So when we're at Marfa, this is what happened, and I was just going to give you kind of my explanations of things that I tried to do to explain how that table might have moved. To begin with, John and myself were watching the computer, watching the monitors and such, which had the cameras out and on the security systems and all of that type of stuff. Don was on his phone trying to upload photos and stuff from kind of a walkabout on the property from the hotel, and was trying to put that on. And Charlie decided that he was going to do something called a EVP, I believe it's called. So he goes and he gets his equipment, goes into the living room of the hotel room, and sets up and starts asking a bunch of questions. So John and I were watching that. After, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes of this, nothing was really going on. There was nothing that had occurred, and suddenly we saw the table move. And I'm like, well, that's very strange. I at first thought that Charlie might have moved it. His foot and his knee was both close to the corner of the table. So I went ahead and replayed the video, which may have been evident on the broadcast. I'm not sure. But when we replayed it, we noticed that his foot did not, Charlie's foot did not move. Neither did his knee move. So it's like, okay, that was definitely strange. So we continued watching it. Nothing else happened as far as I could remember. As far as no more tables, we did put the lights out, and the lights would flicker on and off occasionally. I can kind of account for how a flashlight may activate and deactivate. It could be rust. It could be some internal resistance building up, and then finally the battery, the voltage overcomes that resistance, and then it may temporarily light up. I'm not sure, but those are kind of explainable. That could be mechanical or electrical. So I can't really say that it's necessarily some type of a paranormal event. However, on the table incident, after Charlie got through with his session, we went back out, we reviewed the room, we looked it over. John and I turned the table over. There was making sure we knew that there was no kind of wires or nothing that was attached to it, no strings, no pulls, because it was just the four of us that were in the room. And there was no reason for us to try to gimmick anything. So we knew that there was no type of attachments that we had put on, but we looked underneath the table. Maybe there was something that was there that Could have been magnetic or some type of plating, and maybe there was something in the flooring. We don't know. There's no telling. But there's nothing. It's just a standard wood table. It's got the metallized anchor points for the corners. It was kind of a heavy table, probably weighed maybe, I don't know, 20, 25 pounds. So then it's like, okay, let's see if there's any kind of way that maybe Charlie could have moved it and we didn't capture that on the video. So had John do it and also myself. So we took the same position that Charlie was in, tried to move it with both a foot or a foot and an ankle, foot and a knee or just the knee. And at no time could we make the table move without it being seen. So this is a strong indicator that Charlie did not do anything like that to there. The other thing is that I noticed is that when we tried to recreate the incident by moving it ourselves, because we were pushing either on a leg or a corner of the table would rotate because you have that energy that you're putting into it is only being applied to a corner. So the corner of the table tries to rotate versus slide like it did on the video. So on the video, it moved as if it was pushed or pulled in the very center of the table because it didn't do any kind of rotational action. It just did a straight move for that. The last thing that I could think of that might have occurred, some type of mechanical stress on the table, is that earlier in the evening I had moved that table because I don't know if you noticed on the video that at the very bottom left there was a little section of an air mattress, which is where I was going to be sleeping that night after everything was shut down. So that was kind of visible a little bit, and I'd moved the table to make enough room for that air mattress to fit in there. However, when I pulled it from the width of the table. So it was basically being dragged from the position that it was in towards the two tables, or I'm sorry, the two chairs that are in there in the video. And so if there was any kind of a torque or tension applied to the legs, it would have been pulled in that direction, not the lengthways, the way that the table moved on it. However, because a couple of the table legs were a little bit loose, like they usually are, I tried to recreate putting tension on the table. So I would try to drag the table, I would try to pull the legs out, try to put it in some type of a tension position, thinking that maybe after a little while it may release itself and try to make a small slide or something like that based on the tension legs or the tension of the legs. It never would do it. I never could get that to recreate. Any kind of a tension on the legs, it just sat there. And it really was not really enough tension to be able to move that table the number of inches that it actually slid. So from my position as a skeptic is I can't account for how that happened. I know that it wasn't mechanical. I know it wasn't anything that we had done. We did not try to gimmick it. There was no reason for us to do that. As a matter of fact, that was unexpected. We were expecting maybe a voice on the tape recordings or something like that. So that when the table moved, I can't account for it. Like I said, it was not pulled. There was no magnetic aspect to it. The room was level, so it couldn't be like it was sliding or something like that. I can't come up with any other mechanism other than some type of unknown energy. Whatever that is, I have no idea. But something caused that table to move. First time that I've had something that I could not explain or potentially could not come up with a viable solution for that. So anyway, for All Things Paranormal, this is Charles. Thank you very much.
All right, so you've seen it. You have to decide on one or two things. One, was this real? Or two, was it fake? Well, first of all, this is not fake. Well, we didn't have any trip strings. We didn't have any type of devices. As Charles said earlier, he went through, even flipped the table over, looked for any type of magnetic devices. Maybe the place had set something up or something like that. And we assure you, this is a true, real event. We'll all do any type of testing or anything that anybody wants to be done to make sure that we're not, forging this stuff. And no, we have not. Number two, this was a real event. So with that, you got to decide on one or two things. Well, let's take a look at the event to start with. First of all, we had an infrared camera. It's the 850, I think it's around the 850 NM range. We don't use the 740 because when you get into that, the range is not real far that we need. Sometimes when we get out looking for Bigfoot and stuff like that, we just find it just doesn't go as deep as that we need it to go. And number two, we didn't have any type of thermal or anything like that on there, and because we kind of wasn't really expecting anything. But whenever you start, if you want to put high spectrum cameras, full spectrum cameras, and infrared cameras, and thermal cameras on everything, that runs into a whole lot of money. Being that we're more or less self-funded, things like that to be it's just not possible. All right, now with this particular event, we had let's describe this. Let's go over it. All right, so you had a table that moved. It had energy enough to move whatever it was. Had energy enough to move that particular table. So, what does that do? First of all, it's not seen on our cameras. Whatever energy or entity it was that moved that particular table is not seen. We didn't see anything. We don't see a top of an outline of something. We don't see a specter or something pushing it. It's just not visible to our eye or to the infrared eye. All right. It had enough power to move that particular table. So, and it just didn't move it just like a little tad bit. It moved that sucker. It looked like a good 6 inches, maybe even 8 inches. It was a good hard move. That table was pretty heavy too. That table was probably about 15, 20 pounds. So it had pushing on the floor itself. So you got some friction there, which means it had to overcome that. So it put out a lot of energy to move it. All right, so it had the consciousness enough to move this particular table. Now it's like, so let's go say, okay, I'm gonna move this table. It has to be thought of. You have to take your hand, put it on it, move that table. So it has a consciousness enough. This is not a residual haunting. A residual haunting is where you have something that's like a ghost that's on instant replay of a tape. It's not exactly has any type of thinking ability or anything. It's a constant over and over and over. Where you see a ghost coming down a staircase every day at 2 p.m. Type of thing. It's something that happens over and over and over. Well, this is not a residual haunting. This is actually a physical consciousness of moving of that particular table. All right. Now let's kind of think about what this might have been. All right. Somebody wants to throw out there, so well, it could have been a demon. Well, if it was, we didn't catch any type of smells. When questioning Charlie later, like, hey, did you feel scared or anything? He said, no. I said, you didn't feel threatened or anything? He said, no. So he didn't feel threatened. So if it was a demon, it didn't have any type of reaction like it was supposed to. All right. So, and what would have been the point? All right. So that's not so we're pretty sure that was not it. It's not a demon coming through trying to, scare somebody, because it just didn't have that effect. It's not one of the things that they typically try to do. They usually try to isolate an individual and start separating the person itself, but not just moving a table. There's no point in that for it. All right. Was this, what about, this is something that just occurred to me. What about something from another dimension? How about another dimension bleeding in through? Well, that's kind of an odd situation. First of all, if that's true, then there is other dimensions, with other consciousness beings around. That brings off to a whole other philosophical question. So that's, we might want to think about that too. Being that if it's something that had to come through another dimension, we didn't have any of our, now this is something you got to think about too. This EMF meter we had sitting right there didn't go off. Now it didn't all of a sudden spike out saying, hey, look, it's, 14 gauss or whatever, look, whatever that gauss is. And to show that there's a whole bunch of energy being used at that particular time, like coming through some type of a time warp or space warp or something. And I think you'd have felt it more than just that one little table, just to have that kind of energy being moved. So I don't even think that's a possibility, but it's just something just to throw out there. All right, um, so let's just come down to the conclusion that, hey, this might have been some type of a ghost. With it being some type of a ghost, what did it want? Well, as we said before, when we was trying to do some EMF meter or EVPs, it kept draining the batteries, and all it had was there was really no other form of communication other than that table moved. We didn't get something like where it comes up there and touches you. Nobody had any type of experience like that where it reaches up there and touches you, trying to get onto you, trying to make itself really known other than, hey, look, I can move this table. That's a profound effect all in itself, that, hey, look, I'm strong enough to move this table. So with all that being said, that means that there has to be some sort of without getting into any type of religious aspects, that there's some type of an afterlife here. Everybody's got their own beliefs. I can throw it out there on my beliefs. Well, this just affirmed my beliefs itself as to things going on. And somebody could do the same thing, and then the next thing you know, everybody's, one person's belief is not the same as other person's beliefs, and pretty soon it just takes the whole effect that just happened and just nulls the whole thing. So everybody can look at it at their own religious thing as their own. So we'll just drop that part right there and say, fit it into your religious aspects as yourself, that you feel comfortable with yourself. And that's what I'm gonna do. So this more or less affirms some of my religious aspects. So that's always a plus. So that means that there's some sort of an afterlife, which is a positive all into itself. So that after this, that there's something else. Now, how good does that make you feel on that? But anyway, regardless of the fact of all that, this particular event added more questions to things than the answers that we got. And that's what we do. We're actually searching for answers of different things. And so this added a whole bunch more questions. What are we going to have to do to film it? To actually get a picture of what it was. Now, we have got pictures of ghosts before, but this particular one seemed to eluded our equipment. So what are we going to need to get a picture of it? We're going to have to explore certain things on that too. But I tell you what, rest assured, that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep looking for the answers that were needed. And just to make sure, and we'll pass them on as far as we can. Anyway, this is John with All Things Paranormal, and thanks for watching.
Was that you making my EMF go off in the hall? Or was that somebody else? If there's anybody here, please make your presence known. is this really you're staying at right now? Or is there multiple places where you stay? If you want us to leave, please give us a sign. Was that you that just moved that table? If you want me to leave, move the table again. I guess since you can't do it second time, you're not man enough to do it. I guess since you ain't gonna give me another sign, I guess I'll quit talking.